What's good, everybody? Jenster here. Now, this video is going to be a bit thrown together and off script because I wanted to talk about this topic before too much time has passed. ArtFight 2025 has just come to an end, and I gotta say, this year is probably my favorite ArtFight since joining for the first time a couple years ago. Now, for those who don't know, ArtFight is an annual online game where artists come together and draw each other's OCs. The gimmick of ArtFight is that it's done in a friendly, competitive way. Artists are split into two teams of opposite aesthetics, and depending on the kind of art that you draw for one another, points get added to your team. The team with the most points by the end of the event, lasting a month, wins the event for the year. Now, there is absolutely nothing at stake, there's no actual prizes or anything, it's just artists being bros drawing art for one another. Now, you're encouraged to draw art of the opposing team, but you can also draw for members of your own team in friendly fire, and the points do still count, just not as much as the opposite, of course. Now, as some people are probably aware, whether you participated or not, ArtFight for the year of 2024 had some heavy drama and controversy around it. I don't want to spend too much time on the negative, but I will quickly go over what some of those problems were. For instance, there was a problem with very strict rules on people's OCs dictating exactly how they expected you to draw them. Not only that, but there was also discouragement of artists with quote-unquote low skill levels from drawing people's OCs. Now, I shouldn't have to explain why this is a problem, but disregarding somebody who took time out of their day to show you a token of appreciation, all because you feel they have a low skill level, is not cool. There was also an issue of doing mass attacks or dozens of art attacks with purposefully low effort in order to point farm, essentially. And the last event that I'll share that's a pretty big one is some people were purposefully changing aspects of other people's OCs just because they didn't like it, including skin tone. Because of controversies like those, ArtFight 2024 had a very negative atmosphere attached to it, making artists fearful for the future of the event. And of course, enough negative publicity is going to make people swear off of it. Despite the negative impression that ArtFight 2024 left, I personally feel that this year's event was handled surprisingly well. Now, there was a bit of a scare right before the actual event took place, where there was a bunch of site maintenance that needed to be done and an unfortunate security breach that left artists worried even more. Despite that, artists decided to have a little faith and continue to push forward. They crowdfunded the money necessary to fix the site, and also didn't let the security scare stop them from participating. Now, I wanted to make this video purposefully highlighting a lot of the positives that took place this year. These positives didn't just take place during the actual event, but also before the event even started. Now, of course, people are entitled to their own opinions and they're not going to have the same experience as everyone else, but I'm already seeing videos talking about how ArtFight 2025 was absolutely terrible. Now, the actual amount of videos saying ArtFight 2025 was bad is incredibly small, but because negativity sells, it's going to push these videos to the front. So before a wave of videos comes out saying ArtFight 2025 was a dumpster fire, I wanted to make a video explaining why I personally think it's the best one we've had so far. Just to be clear, everything I mention in this video is 100% personal experience. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, but know that I am just trying to spread a little positivity. You ready? Let's talk. So before the actual event even began, there was a wave of tutorial videos on basically ArtFight etiquette. One of the things that kind of hurt ArtFight 2024 was how mainstream it became on apps like TikTok. It became a huge talking point and gathered a lot of new participants. Not saying that there weren't any tutorial videos to begin with, but that amount of people signing on at once, it was hard to know exactly what to do. So a lot of people didn't get attacks just because they didn't really know the process, and the point system got abused a little bit as well. Especially the function known as polish, which essentially means going above and beyond, putting in as much effort as possible to make this a beautiful masterpiece. In fact, it got abused so bad that ArtFight even put in their official rules to really think things over before using the polish function. While I did consider making an etiquette video myself, I saw so many good videos from other people that I felt like my video would have been a drop in the ocean, and that's not a bad thing. Not only did they explain how to actually play the game, like what the terms meant in the upload process, but they also explained how to build a profile and bring attention to your OCs in the first place. Plus, I was really impressed that there were tutorials on how to behave during the event itself. Not gonna lie, when you spend time making something for somebody and they either don't say thank you or don't draw anything back, of course that's discouraging. While it's okay to be discouraged, putting people on blast because of it is not. And as I mentioned earlier, disregarding people's tokens of appreciation because their art skills aren't up to your taste is also not okay. That was brought to light in a lot of these tutorials. essentially reminding people that the game is meant for giving, not getting, because you don't know whose day you could be brightening. I feel that was one of the major things that saved this year, honestly. Because as I was browsing profiles to see which characters I was interested in, I noticed that the rules for people's characters were a lot less strict than last year. People were offering a lot more creative freedom, except for obvious things like certain clothing choices and ship dynamics. Because styles are going to differ, to expect people to draw a character exactly the same way every single time is near impossible. Plus, if you give somebody a ton of rules with little to no creative freedom, it's gonna make them less excited about it. Not to say that you shouldn't have some major rules, like whether or not you want NSFW or heavy gore, for example. Some people include lists on their profiles of how many times certain characters have been attacked. The reason why I personally don't like it is because I would prefer to be surprised. That's just me though, there's nothing actually wrong with that. That being said, I got a lot of attacks for characters that I really didn't expect anybody to draw. For example, since the first time I joined ArtFight, the one character that has the most attacks is my little shark cat dude named Sudsy. At the time, every year since I joined, Sudsy would always have the most attacks, to the point where I kind of expected it each year. And that can turn unhealthy real fast because when you start expecting a character to be drawn every year and then they don't, that can lead to the discouragement problem. But this year, I was pleasantly surprised to get attacks for characters that I thought no one would pay attention to. See, another thing that ArtFight does is when the teams are decided, admins make little calling cards essentially that you can advertise both what you're likely to draw and suggestions for characters that you would like to see drawn. And like I said, at the time, every year I put Sudsy on there, and every year Sudsy would be drawn, but barely any of the other characters I suggested would. But I have to be careful not to expect things from people because, like I said, that leads into the discouragement problem. Now, my art fight used to be specific to my old DeviantArt account. I used to have a mascot named Melody, who I used to represent myself online. Now, Melody was my most recognized mascot because at the time my DeviantArt was my most popular social media. But since growing up and rebranding, I decided to do something different this year. I decided to put Melody aside and rebrand as Jenster G, even changing my username. I have a bunch of different social media for different universes essentially of my characters. Like Melody is from her own universe. I have a series I'm working on called Wishing on Sea Stars, that's its own universe. I do it just to keep things organized. But to give people more OCs to choose from, I decided to make my art fight a central hub essentially of all my OCs from every social media. And that ended up working out really well because characters I thought I would never get fan art of in general ended up catching a lot of people's attention. Now, in no way am I trying to brag. The reason why I mention any of this is because that seemed to be the theme for this year. It seemed like artists were purposefully drawing characters that didn't get a lot of attention. I decided to tag one character that I really liked the aesthetic of, and after I shared it, the owner of the character said that they were really happy because they don't get art of that OC very much. So it just seemed to be a really positive trend this year. And one more positive I want to talk about before ending the video. It seems like artists put in a lot of effort trying to save ArtFight this year instead of swearing off of it. Yes, a lot of unfortunate circumstances plagued ArtFight of 2024. Now, usually when something like this happens, all the negativity and bad press makes people unwilling to give it a second chance. From the way I saw it though, it seemed like the exact opposite happened. See, ArtFight is completely voluntary. There's nothing at stake, there's no actual prizes for whoever wins the event. It's just artists being bros coming together and giving each other a positive distraction from the world, essentially. To me, it kind of feels like doing art club after school. Just a bunch of artists coming together to hang out, draw for each other, and just gush over a hobby. And instead of letting one bad year ruin the whole event, artists decided to come together and make sure it didn't happen again. The ArtFight admins released their crowdfunding goals back at the end of May, and 3 months later, it's almost completely paid for. You know, we don't want to lose this event because it is fun. It's a chance to make friends, it's a chance to make people happy. It's a chance to share the love of a hobby that feels kind of squashed right now by things like AI. As cheesy as this is going to sound, I mostly wanted to make this video just to show what the power of positivity can do. And because there's enough negativity in the world, it's really nice to have a cleansing pause every once in a while. So that's about it. I just wanted to talk about how I thought ArtFight of 2025 was awesome, really improved from ArtFight 2024, and I can't wait to see what the positivity of these artists helping to keep this running will do for ArtFight 2026. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, even though I didn't have a script, I just wanted to talk about some of the positives from this year's ArtFight, considering how negative last year's unfortunately was. Remember to take my opinion with a grain of salt, as this is all based on personal experience, and obviously everyone isn't going to have the same. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you're here. If you liked what you saw and wish to support me, feel free to like, maybe subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my Patreon for membership rewards. I'll see you next time. Love you, bless you, peace out.